Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Organic Business Growth from Social Media with MAPS Coach Dina Watson. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS Group YouTube channel. You may access the YouTube channel from your Zoom confirmation email, and we will share it share the link in the chat momentarily. Currently, everyone is on mute. We do value group participation, so we ask that if you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box located in the taskbar at the bottom of your screen. Your questions will be addressed by your coach throughout your webinar. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack, FASTTRACK at kw.com. That's all for me, Dina. Take it away.
No more bad jokes, Graham. So now we're on to some serious stuff. We've been making really bad jokes the last few minutes, you guys. So I'm trying to get serious here. Hey, everybody. My name is Dina Watson, and I just stuck my email address in the chat box before people start asking questions. I feel like that's the easiest way to get it in there. If you have any questions when we are done, or if you, I don't know, you just want to send me an email and say thanks, I'm more than open to that. And that is the email where you would send that. So it's dinawatson@kw.com, and it's already in the chat box. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Today, we are going to spend the next 30 to 40-ish minutes going through some of the things that you guys can do on your journey to growing your business through social media specifically. I want to first come in here and kind of give you an introduction to who I am, just so you know why I'm up here talking to you about this. And also because sometimes I think it's interesting to know why somebody was chosen to teach a class and to go into that. So I am natively from Nashville, Tennessee. I currently don't live there, and yet I'm going back home pretty soon. So if you live in Nashville, hit me up and I would be happy to have lunch or coffee with you. We'll be moving back there in about 6 months. That being said, I am a military wife. My husband is a Green Beret in the United States Army currently. We move about every 3 to 4 years, and this is an upcoming what they call PCS move for us, where we're going to a different duty station. That being said, I also run a team. And the reason that I'm up here teaching this course on social media is because the way I've been able to keep my team going all of the different times that we've moved over the last 8 to 9 years is 100% based in social media and selling and branding myself and my business with other agents and with people in the community through specifically social media. When we first moved here a few years ago, didn't know anybody, hadn't started my team at that point. This was probably 2015. My very first experience was selling on social media, and it has kind of stayed the same and gone up since then. I did sell 50 properties using Facebook without spending any money, all organically through doing the things that we're going to talk about here today. So I do want you guys to know that it is possible to sell a massive amount of real estate without spending a whole lot. I think that you get into webinars right now and they're talking about buying this and buying that. And I mean, I got sucked into spending like $200 on this webcam the other day. I can't figure out how to make it work. So people are always telling you to buy really cool things and amazing things. And I'll tell you, the best thing I got going on right now is this tiny little ring light I bought for $7 on Amazon. It's literally the best thing ever when it comes to social media and keeping light where it needs to be. And we'll talk about that stuff later. I'm also a MAPS Mastery coach, which means that I do coach people one-on-one in their business. And I have a little boy who's redheaded and treats me like he is redheaded. He is very much crazy, just like me. And I love dogs. So that's who I am in a nutshell. Biggest thing I want you guys to know is everything I'm going to talk to you about today, I've actually done myself and still do myself. I'm not up here teaching you guys things that used to work or don't work anymore. During the duration of this particular class, if you want to go and find and friend me on Facebook, that's what it would look like if you were to go look for me on social media right now. The background picture is a little different, but overall, that's what you'd see. I just want to let you guys know what to look for whenever you start looking. So let's get started. There are going to be a few major components of things that I want to teach you today, that the basic foundations of this is what's going to allow you guys to have a massive social media business. Number one is branding. First, y'all, this is like real-time stuff. Sorry, that's something right in my face. The first step, you guys, is branding. And it's basically going into who are you? What do you specifically stand for? And it's going to encompass more than just who you are. Obviously, branding in a nutshell is going to be marketing yourself through advertising venues and the right logos and all these other things, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the first step is going to be to brand yourself. And I have 5 specific things I want to teach you today when it comes to branding, marketing, and advertising yourself on social media. The first one is that it's actually urgent that you guys get yourself known on social media under a brand, even if that's Your Name Realty or Your Name Real Estate Team or something like that. Because to be honest, there's a lot of people with the last name Watson on social media, a lot of them. There's a lot of people with the last, with the first name Graham on social media. There's a lot of Carloses on social media. And it's hard for people to remember you, even if you're great. Even if you gave them the absolute best customer service you ever could imagine, people forget names. It is so easy. You guys think about it. Once every 6 years or so, they will buy or sell a home. But how much life has happened in the 6 years since that last time and the current time you're selling them a property? A lot. The thing that's on their mind the least in that time is probably real estate. Now, I'm bringing this up to say, if you brand yourself, some things that the human brain remembers easily are colors, logos, things that are visually appealing. So when you brand yourself and you create a logo, you're giving yourself another layer of what I would call remembrance with clients and customers on social media. Most of the time, if someone's seen something enough times before, they will remember that they've seen it. They might not know where they saw it, but they will remember that they've seen it. But if you have a fairly common name and someone says your name, they might be like, why do I know that person? Have y'all ever done that? You're like, I know her. I really don't remember where. She was your real estate agent. And she's not going to be remembered very well if you don't give yourself another layer of protection there. The next thing we're going to talk about today is how you actually brand yourself and what are the components of a great brand. I'm going to actually go at the end of this class and give you 5 ad types that work pretty much all the time that you guys should be cycling through as you're going through your week. And then we are going to talk really quickly about business pages and personal pages and what's the difference. And then the last thing today, we're going to talk about an actionable daily thing that you guys can do to spend more time growing your social media presence without having to know a lot about social media. All right, so let's get into the brand part. There are 5 components of a great brand, and one is more of an action item or a strategy. So as I'm going through this, I want you guys to think on whether or not you specifically have all 5 of these, okay? And I'm going to ask you to rank yourself. You don't have to do it in the chat box unless you absolutely want to, but the first thing we're going to do is ask about your logo. So for those of you that have a logo, in the chat box, just type the word logo. If you do not, type a sad face. We're going to do a sad face. If you don't have a logo, type a sad face. Whoa, look at all of you guys. Look at, oh my God, anybody watching this? So many people. Oh, a couple sad faces. Oh, more sad faces. Sad face. Okay, someone actually typed out sad face. You guys are my heroes. Okay, so the first thing you guys are going to want to consider if you do not have a logo is to actually look at creating one. Like I said, when someone sees something go across their desk, like I have a Sharpie here, so I'm going to do this. When you see this and you see the brand Sharpie, you know that it's a Sharpie. But if I pull out, let's find it, where to go? If I pull out an off brand, I know that this is not a Sharpie, right? Like there's an actual difference. Some people don't think there are, but there's an actual difference here. Having an actual logo along with your brand name is going to allow people to remember you easily years from now. The other thing that it's going to do if you don't have a logo, for you guys to consider this, it's noisy in the world of social media. And if someone's in a referral group and they're like, you should call, like, let's see who's somebody on here. I can't read y'all's names. You should call Emily Santina. And Emily, I don't know where you're from, but if you're looking for a referral, you should call Emily Santina. And Emily writes back, that's awesome. There's nothing in that thread that stands out. But what happens if Emily puts her logo and a graphic that she created with her phone number and all of that in there and says, thank you so much, here's my contact information. Now every single person on that thread is seeing what Emily posted. Okay. Next thing to consider if you do have a logo, 2 questions. How long ago did you create it? And does that brand or that logo still serve you? Last question, is that it's still in trend with what is going on in the world? As anything else, brands have to be refreshed. I don't know if you're as much of a Starbucks junkie as me, but a while ago, and I actually failed to drink mine this morning, but a while ago, this used to actually say Starbucks. But what happened? So many people know who Starbucks is now. They don't even have to put their name. There's nothing on this other than the rewards thing that tells me this is from Starbucks, but what else does? The logo does. So think about that. Sometimes you can become so synonymous with something that you don't even have to introduce yourself anymore. But I'll tell you what, about every 7 to 8 years, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, all of those places, they refresh their brand identity. We need to do the same thing. Next, do you have identifiable colors? The second component of a great brand and something that's going to help you stick out on social media is an identifiable set of colors. Someone said they just rolled out black cup lids. We're going to get into this whole thing about Starbucks. That's so funny. We won't go there. We'll save everybody that doesn't like Starbucks. All right, so identifiable colors could be various different things, you guys. It's pretty self-explanatory. But another thing that is known to be true about human psychology is that light, the different ways that people perceive light actually helps them remember things as well. So color, all color is just light through a certain prism. It shines a certain color and there you go. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is when you have a logo and you have certain colors and they're always together all the time, the same way all the time, you're helping people remember who you are. Now we're going to go to number 3. The third thing that every great brand has is a clear brand promise. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that you've identified what it's going to happen when someone uses you for whatever you're selling, right? Here's what you're promising to the public when they're dealing with you. Now, some of you have a great logo. Some of you have colors, but you don't use them all the time throughout your whole life. I'll tell you, half the pots and pans in my kitchen are teal because that's our colors. This lamp in front of me is actually teal as well. So the one thing I know that a lot of people don't have is an actual written out statement that they can put in their listing presentations, their buyer presentations, or on their websites about what kind of service people can expect when they work with you. That is a clear brand promise. The fourth thing that every really amazing company has that has a great brand is a target market. We're going to go into that in just a minute, but if you guys have one, I want you to go ahead and, not in the chat box, but go ahead on a piece of paper and write down who your target market is, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. Number 5, which I think is the most important thing, is complete consistency in everywhere you post anything. So your brand, your logos, your colors, the fonts you use, everything on your business card, on your sign, on your email signature, on your, if you get embroidered jackets, like everywhere that someone looks, one of the major components of an amazing brand that has brand recognition is that it's always the same no matter where someone looks. So I want you guys to think real quick on those top 5. How many do you have and how many do you not have? And if you have them, I want you to rank yourself from 1 to 10. 1 being, meh, it's there, it's all right. 10 is, it is amazing, the best thing I could have ever possibly done, and I am so proud of myself. I'm gonna give you guys a second. On all 5 of those, rank yourself on each one, 1 to 10, from it is the most amazing thing to I am embarrassed. That's your scale, however you want to interpret that. Now, the last thing that is really, really important here, but it's not a component of a great brand, it's just really important to get your name recognition out there, is an actual written out strategy on how you're going to reach. Oh my gosh, Adrian, you have a 10. That means that you're perfect. That is so great. I'm glad one of you are here because it makes me feel better about myself. The last thing I want you guys to do is to write out the actual strategy that you will have with your target market. And we're going to go over the target market stuff here in just a second, but that is the last component of this. You've got a clear logo, you've got colors people can remember you by, you've got a promise to the community, you've got a target market of who you're going after, you've got consistency and design, and the last thing is the actual written out strategy. Some people could call it a content calendar, but an actual written out strategy on how you're going to get there. Simply put, though, you guys, if we're going to strip away all of the sexiness about this, branding is just promoting a product or service by the means of advertising it. So I bring this up because you could have everything on this previous page, and if you don't market yourself, you have nothing. You can have everything on this page, but if you don't actually get out and market your brand and yourself, you have nothing here. There's no point in even going through all of that stuff. Now, in this example, I also want to make sure everyone's on the same page with something else. You, in social media, you are the product, not the houses you sell. So I want you guys to think about how you're marketing yourself currently. Are you just simply marketing a property and putting that you're the listing agent? Are you marketing an open house and you're putting that you're the one sitting at the open house? Or are you actually sharing your personal story, marketing your personal self, and then talking about how you just so happen to sell real estate? I'm going to give you all some homework real quick. This has nothing to do with social media, but it will help you understand the concept of what I just said. If you go to YouTube and you actually type in Simon Sinek, why TED Talk, if you've not ever watched that, that is the first thing I want you to do when we get off of this webinar today. It talks a lot about how people don't care or buy what we do, they buy why we do it. So anybody could go and buy a house from anybody on this screen. There are a couple hundred of you on here, and all of us have real estate licenses, and all of us can sell. I know in my market, there's 2,200 real estate agents. Why do people choose us? They choose us because of the connection they have with us. It's the TED Talks. It's Simon Sinek, which is SIMONSINEK. So Simon Sinek. Why? Like in quotations, TED Talk. I'm going to write his name in the chat box just so you guys can see it as well. It's about 17 minutes. And it's really, when I first watched that a few years ago, it changed the way that I started to market and brand myself on social media, because I realized that if people only move every 6 years, then no one's paying attention to me for the 5 years after that, unless I'm marketing myself and why I do what I do and why I'm in business. His book, Start With Why, is also a really great book. And thank you, Rebecca, for that as well. Branding, you guys, is more than just your logo, your colors, your filters, all of those things. While it is those things, the most important component of this is the reason behind why you do what you do. Okay. The most important component of branding on social media, and if you're the same Rebecca Ellis that I actually know, y'all should all go look at what she does on social, because she does this really well. It's the story about why you're in business. She's like, yes, that's me. I wish I could see your face. I can't. It's the story about why you're in business. It's the story about what specifically you are doing to better yourself. It's the story about the failures that you've had, because you guys, here's the thing I want you to all take out of this. People cannot connect with you if they don't know or understand you. People cannot connect with you if they don't know and understand you. And on social media, feeling like they're connected to you is the only way they raise their hand and say, please help me. Now, whatever that means to you, I want you to take it and run with it. But you have to stop just posting real estate stuff. That is important, and I understand that, but that is not the most important thing here. The messaging is more important than the colors. It's more important than the filters. It's more important than the logo. So do not get hung up on all of that. And someone else just put it in the chat box. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is an amazing book. And it is something that, coupled with that why video, I would really recommend every single person on here watch to understand the depth of this. So the last part here, branding allows consumers to find you and identify you in all of the noise. Now, if people are seeing names, that's just a sea of names. Just like you guys saw on here, whenever people started posting logo, or smiley face, all you saw was this. But if someone had posted a picture right in the middle of it, it would have stopped all of our eyeballs, because it's something that's different than everything else. That's what your logo is going to do when people are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Your videos, your pictures, and your logos are going to stop that scroll and help them read what's actually on your social media platform. Okay, so we're going to move off from this. Step 2 in all of this is your audience and your message. So to know that you specifically have the right target audience, you need to identify and answer 3 particular questions. Number 1, who? You have to answer that. Before you can have effective marketing and messaging on social media, you have to know who you're sending the message to. Now, for me, a lot of people, I tell this story every time. A lot of people would assume that my target market is the military. It's not. It's not the military service member. It is, however, the military spouse. Now, why does that matter? Because those are 2 distinctly different types of people. One person is a service member. They have a certain type of needs. They have a certain type of thought process and all that other stuff. The other person is a spouse who's being drugged across the country and has a whole different set of concerns. If my audience is the spouse and all of my messaging goes to the service member, I'm missing the mark. And the same thing the other way around. So you can have the best logo, the best messaging, and everything can be on point. And if you don't know who you're sending it out to, you've missed the mark and you're not really being effective with anyone. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you don't know who your audience is to answer these 3 questions. Who? Number 1, who do you desire to work with the most? Who fires you up? Who gets you super excited to get out of bed and go do this every day? The longer we're in business and the longer this whole pandemic thing goes on, the harder, in my opinion, it is to get super excited about working with the general public. Some of you get super excited to work with the general public, and I want to know who specifically that person is. Okay. Now, when you think you know who it is, see if you can take it one level deeper than that. To give you my personal example, like I said, it was the military service member. And then I was like, nope, it's actually the spouse. And at the bottom of that funnel, my actual target audience is special operations spouses. Why? Because that's who I am. They're also a different type of need than that. Now, if I came into this and I said, my audience is the military, I would get a few people. But the deeper you go, and as they say, the riches are in the niches. And if you're not in the South, they call it a niche, but then that whole thing doesn't rhyme. The riches are in the niches is what we're going to say. And it's very true. The smaller you can actually go with who your target audience is, the more effective you are in your messaging. Now, the last part of the who equation is who do you relate to the most and whose problems do you actually like solving? You guys, I don't want to solve first-time homebuyer problems. That does not mean I'm a bad person. That just means that's not my idea of a good time. You might not want to solve military movers. You might not want to solve move-up buyers. You might not want to solve investor problems. I know somebody in my marketplace whose whole team is just a team full of people who help investors, but they help almost all of the investors in our town. The riches are in the niches, right? They said, we're going to be a team full of people who just help investors. But if you're trying to help everybody, you're effectively spreading yourself pretty thin and you haven't grabbed hold of anything. Now, the second question you have to ask or you have to answer is what? What are you going to solve for them? What issues do they have? Now, another homework piece, if you go into the Donald Miller book, Building a Story Brand, you will see the story brand framework. You can also Google this if you don't have the book. And one of the most important pieces in there to take out is to understand that you are not the hero in the equation on social media. You are the guide. You are not the hero, you are the guide. The hero is the client. And why I'm saying that is because if you come in and you're like, I'm the best and I did all this stuff and blah, 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 people just think you're bragging. But if you say, you know what, this person, she's an amazing person and I cannot believe I was able to help her find her house and get her, and she got through this process, and you're leaving it all to where the client is the one in the spotlight, you're allowing more people to resonate with you. Okay, so if you need to go back and refresh, it's the story brand framework from the Building the Story Brand book. And it talks about how you basically are the guide and you come, the person comes to you with a problem, you have the solution and you guide them through that process. And that's part of what this is what process are you guiding people through? If you have a military wife audience, my guidepost here is I'm helping her just not buy a house, but relocate her whole life. I'm helping her find another doctor for her kids. I'm helping her find another church to plug into. I'm solving all these other problems. If you're somebody who helps luxury people, how many problems are you solving? What problems are you able to solve for those folks? And you guys get the point here. I won't beat a dead horse. The last question you have to answer is why? Why are you the particular person to help them with these issues? And why is that going to allow them to want to work with you? So the target audience, you have to answer who, what, and why. Who are they? What are the problems they have? And why are you the person to solve them? And if you guys can effectively figure out how to communicate that through some of the resources I just threw your way, you will be on your way to selling real estate on social media pretty easily, actually. I'm not going to say it's easy to get started, but once you figure out the equation, it's not that difficult. All right, the last thing to consider if those answers don't help you is to think about the age of your target audience. What are they interested in? What's their socioeconomic status? And I'll tell you guys this, There's a lady in my marketplace in my office who absolutely loves working with sub 100,000 people. Every person who buys a home under $100,000, she's pretty much the person that they go to. And that is just as okay as the million plus. So whatever price point you feel like you really excel in, that's a key indicator that you might want to spend more time working in that price point with those people. Okay. Everybody on the same page. I hate saying socioeconomic status because some people think, well, that you mean just rich people. Well, no, not really. I'll tell you, I personally, when it gets over 500, don't want anything to do with it. I don't know those houses. Those are not my people. Like, yeah, I'd love to make 30 grand every commission, but that's just not where I'm comfortable. Okay. So just to remind you that socioeconomic status goes both ways. The last thing to consider is the location of their jobs. I know some of your names on here, and I know you live in major metro areas. And sometimes it's better and easier and less stress to not have to work a whole geographic area. For me to get from where I am to there's a hospital on the base here is 40 minutes from my house to that hospital. If someone says I want to work at the hospital, most of the time I give them to somebody else on my team that lives over there. Because for me to drive back and forth to that location of where they're wanting to live is very inconvenient for me. And yes, I can do it, but I also have a better time working with people in my own backyard. So the other thing to consider is where do they work? Where do they enjoy going to? Where do they send their kids to school? And is that your particular area? Now, a couple of things I'm going to caution you guys on, and I'm not going to camp out here because this is the most, I don't know, this is the most awkward part of this whole, this whole class. But one of the things I'm going to caution you guys on right now, and especially today's day and age, in the last couple of years, things in this country have gotten really heated with a whole lot of different items. And I want you to be aware of what people call a hot button issue. And I'm bringing this up because if you are going to start actually making a lot of money selling real estate on social media, you have to understand that your profile is now opened up to people who don't know you. You're adding friends on Facebook that don't know you. You're adding all kinds of people who are referral partners across the country who you don't actually know. And they're going to make a lot of snap judgments and assumptions about you based on the things that you're sharing outside of your business. Okay. I say this all to say it is still your social media page and you can do whatever you wish. But the real world says that people make judgments against everyone else. And that's, I mean, I do it, you do it, we all do it. And so these are normally the 6 things that people can make some sort of judgment one way or the other. These are also 6 of the things that normally, yeah, COVID should be on here as well. These are normally the things that people are either one way or the other on. Okay, politics is pretty obvious. If you guys are sharing a lot of things that are politically charged, please understand that you are losing potentially half of the people who could be working with you because they don't believe the way that you do. They never are going to believe the way that you do. And that's just the way that it is. It's not good or bad for you, not good or bad for them. Same thing, someone else just put on there, COVID and the mask situations. Those are things, if you are being vocal about it and you're trying to also build your business on social media, a lot of times those things don't go hand in hand very well because you are alienating a very large portion of people who don't believe the way that you do. Religion, sexual orientation, human welfare topics like immigration, abortion, those kind of things, gun control, and all things that are pro-feminist or either way around, really. So just be careful on these y'all don't be starting to fight in the chat box. Be careful on these particular things that if you're posting about this stuff a lot, someone asks, what do you do if you particularly love this to your core or care about it to your core? The other option here is to consider this a micro niche or a micro niche, and you literally go all in with that. And I'll give you one story just for her example and we'll move on. There's a woman, I've coached her probably one-on-one in MAPS for about 2 years now. She started out as a client that took the course that these slides come out of, and she owns a gun store. She's a younger, blonde, tall woman, very, very beautiful lady, owns a gun store. And she came through this class and she's like, I'm having issues with this because I am very pro-gun. Like, I carry one every day. This is my life. What do I do? And I said, okay, so what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And she said, well, I could lose people who don't believe in your right to bear arms. I said, okay, what's the best thing that could happen? And she said, everybody in my town who loves guns as much as I do will want to use me as their realtor. Guess what happened? She rebranded herself. She's now On Target Realty. She teaches home defense seminars. Her Instagram is full of her with very large firearms, of which it's kind of a cool thing to see for her. And she now is a mastery client, where she started as a group coaching client years ago. And she's probably made the most money she's ever made in the last 12 months. And it's all because she literally said, I don't care what everybody else thinks. This is something I love and something I believe in. And everyone else who believed the same way that she believes came to her for real estate. So that can also happen. But if you're not willing to go that far, you have to just be careful and kind of be Switzerland on some of these things. Okay. All right. So step 3, you've got branding. You've got all the components of that. Now you've got, how do you actually define who you're going to market this step to? And step 3 is going to be marketing. Before we go into this, I'm going to give you guys what a lot of people ask, and we're just going to, head it off at the pass here. A lot of people will say, what are the best and worst times to post? My answer every single time is going to be, the best time to post is whenever you can, if you're just getting started. If you are not great at this yet, post whenever it's convenient for you. If you are doing it pretty consistently, you might want to get a little bit more honed in on when to get the most bang for your buck with people who are actually on social media. So nationwide, the best times to post are the weekdays from 1 to 4 p.m. And that's because that's when people get the highest click-through ratings. The overall peak time throughout the week is Wednesday at 3. Ask me why, I can't tell you, but apparently that's when most of the nation is scrolling social media, probably right before they head out for the day at work. The worst times to post are between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on the weekends for pretty obvious reasons. I would say a lot of people probably are not on social media. But what you guys have to think about when you're getting strategic with timing is specifically, when are people in your community scrolling on their phone? And I say that because in a military community, people are off work at times that people north of us in Raleigh have, like, y'all are corporate America, we are not. So it's really, really different. So for us, between 7 and 8 a.m., people are usually not available. Normally around 3 o'clock, people are starting to get off work, where specifically in more corporate America jobs, that time might be 6 p.m. So take the time zone and the times that your audience is in front of their phone. And I would use a best and worst time to post for yourself based on that. But these are our national averages. So let's talk real quick about ads. And we are in the downhill slide of this class. So if you guys are starting to have questions, pop them in the chat box. We got about 5-10 more minutes, then we will get out of here. So let's talk about ads. There are 5 types of ads that are pretty common, and that majority of the time real estate agents are going to want to continually post these all the time. You don't actually have to make them into a full-blown ad that you pay for, but there are 5, you can call them posts at that point, that you need to continue to make all the time. Number 1, each one of them is going to serve a different function and purpose. So I want to make sure that you guys all are on the same page, that sometimes certain ads you think are going to do certain things for you. For example, we'll talk about a CMA ad. A lot of people think that I'm going to post an ad about a home valuation and I should automatically get listings. Well, that's not the purpose of that ad. The purpose of the ad is to figure out who is considering selling or who wants to know what their home is worth, and to get some sort of an idea on building a database around that. So each one of these things is going to serve as a specific purpose, but you need to know your desired outcome before you place any ad or post, so that you don't get upset when things do or don't happen the way you think they're supposed to. Next thing, you guys, if you're going to actually pay for ads, please make sure you're holding your money accountable. I make this point every class I teach, and it just gets more painful every time I say it. Years ago, I thought I had made a normal post. I had actually made a post that was going into messenger inboxes. And before I realized what I'd done, it was like a week or 2 later, and it was like $200 or $300 before I turned it off and realized I did the wrong thing. If you're actually putting an ad out and you're paying for something, please, please, please make sure that you understand what you're doing and that you click the right buttons and you're paying attention. And more importantly, that as that ad runs, that you check its results. Don't just throw things out there and see what sticks. Tell a story inside the ad that moves people to actually act and make a decision. Just like, you know, from bold, logic makes people think, emotion makes you act. If you just say just listed instead of there's a new home coming on the market and it hurts my heart to post it. My neighbor down the street, one of the most amazing people I've ever met, just got a job offer and they're now moving out of town. That is connection. This is marketing. You have to make connection on social media in order for people to want to use you. Do y'all see the difference there? Okay. Ad type number 1 is going to be your traditional sale ad, just listed, just sold. These are things that you guys need to be doing on a regular basis. Think about it this way. Every listing that you take, you have about 5 separate marketing opportunities. Hey, I'm in the front yard and this listing's amazing and I'm going to be able to take this listing. Hey, we just signed, it's going to be on the market soon. Just listed, under contract, just sold. Buyers missed out. There's 6 opportunities for every single listing for you guys to make separate posts and calls to action on social media. So make sure that you guys are thinking about that as you're posting just listed and just sold. The goal for these types of ads, honestly, is a proof of production. Yes, you may get people who are inquiring as leads on the ads, but more than anything, you're wanting people to see that you're still working. Now, if you are a busy agent, like some of you I know are, because I've seen your names and stuff before, if you're posting these things every 5 minutes, people might think that you're too busy for them. So please balance out your sales posts with personal posts of you having a good time at home and taking your kids to the park or your dog to the park or whatever. Don't just look like it's all business all the time, or people might think that you don't have time for them. That's happened to me more times than I would like to admit. Consider how you're writing the ad. Sometimes the job I do becomes so much more than selling homes. Mr. and Mrs. whoever were in church and called me after deciding they were going to take a step towards homeowner, or were in a crunch and called me after deciding they were going to take a step to home ownership. The road was rocky, but that's a connection piece. Just sold is not. So as y'all are going through your days and you're posting these things, make sure that you're considering how to do it to make connection with people. So number 2, we just talked about this. The second most common type of post or ad that you guys should be doing on a regular basis is the CMA ad. It's the home valuation ad, right? You want to know how much your home is worth. I want to put a different twist on this though, you guys. One thing before I do that, the whole point of these ads is to build your pipeline of future listing opportunities. If you have a goal and you go into it and you say, I'm going to post this and I'm going to snag a listing, and all that comes through are people wanting to know what their home is worth, and you get frustrated, you're missing a golden opportunity here. I don't know about in your particular marketplace, but in mine, there are 350,000 people in our metro area. And there was an agent in my market center that posted yesterday that between all 3 counties we serve, there's only 150 properties available between $150,000 and $350,000 for 300 and something thousand people on an average price of 200 grand. Now I'm saying that to tell you, I would give the world to have a back pocket full of people who I spoken to with no pressure and told them what they could sell their home for and asked that one question at the end. Hey, you said that, you know, I just told you your home's worth 350. If I could get you 360 or 370, would you sell it? And 3 months ago, they told you yes. And today you have a lead that comes in for 370 in that neighborhood and not a soul is on the market. I would give $1 million to have that thing in my back pocket full of people who have told me at some point that they would sell. You've got their name, you've got their phone number, you've got everything that you need to make that call back and say, hey, we talked a few months ago. Are you serious? Because I now have somebody. Don't get so caught up in trying to get business today that you ignore the point of this ad. The next thing to consider, you guys, is what would happen if you had a Zoom connection with every person who was serious about the valuation of their home, and you spent 2 hours a week doing 15-minute Zoom calls where you just gave people a basic, like, condensed listing presentation. If you could do 10 of those a week, or let's say even a month, if you could do 10 of those a month, do you think you could at least pull 1 new listing out every single month? If you could get in front of 10 people with the value of their house, absolutely, all of us could. So look at this in a different way, because a lot of people will say the leads are crap, nobody's wanting to sell. Well, not really. They all just gave you their information. You didn't have to pay for it. That's pretty important if you ask me. All right, so the next thing that you're going to look at is number 3, the FOMO ad. And FOMO is fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. This is where you're going to capitalize on people's need to be in the know and to be on top of things. And for example, you can look at a property that you just sold, take a picture of the family in front of the house, and talk about the amazing deal that you got them, or the really amazing thing that happened at the end, or whatever. This is just a play on people's emotions, because when you tag them, their friends and family are going to see that as well. So make sure that as you're going through and selling properties, that you're taking pictures of the people you're selling them with, as long as they give you permission. And if you have their permission to post those on social media, it works a whole lot better than just listed and just sold. Ad number 4, or post number 4, is the review ad. Okay. Every time you get a review on Zillow, do not take a screenshot of that and post it on your Facebook page. Copy it, go onto Canva or onto Designs in Command, and make an actual beautiful looking branded, colors are correct, everything is right. Copy the text in there and make an ad out of that, or just make a post out of it. The more you are showing reviews from other people, the more likely new folks are to use you. Have any of you ever heard of a great restaurant and you look and there are no reviews, and instantly your friend who told you about the restaurant, you're like, wait a minute, is this place even still open? That's me. Human behavior has changed, and people are more likely to do business with someone that they can see and verify other people have had success with than they do if they can't see it. So the point of this, you guys, is to give yourself credibility and let somebody else brag on you. Let somebody else brag on you. It looks a whole lot better that way. You can also run a series of ads that shows a glimpse into the type of customer service you provide. I'll tell you, we ask for reviews on our team after they go under contract, before the world has had a chance to blow up. That's when we get most of our reviews. You can also run contests and things like that if that's legal in your state. Some states that's not legal, but I know a lot of people who have run contests. So if you enter in a review, you get an entry into this drawing. You have to check your state and local ordinances to make sure that's legal. But I do know people who have done that in the past as well. The whole point of posting reviews, it feels like you're bragging, but honestly, you guys, it's really good for credibility, and it allows other people to see the type of service that you provide. All right, so this whole thing's coming back around. The last type of ad I'm telling everybody to make sure that they post is the COVID ad, and people are like, what in the heck is that? The COVID ad is the goal here, you guys, is to make sure people know that you can still do business in a safe way with them if they are COVID conscious. The other thing that it does, no matter what your beliefs are about it, is that it allows you to ride off the coattails of the buzzword and the search engine optimization stuff going on right now with everybody searching for the word COVID. I'll tell you, if you post enough of these kind of things, when people search for the COVID testing site, they're going to find your real estate site because you're tagging and doing tagging for COVID words and things like that. But the most important thing here, you guys, is there are still a lot of people who are very afraid to be around others right now because of what is going on. And this will allow you to showcase how you can do the whole process pretty much virtually if they're concerned about this, or what safety protocols you're using, or what have you. Okay. Last thing, make sure that all of these things are searchable by using hashtags. You don't have to get serious about it. And now they're saying that using excessive amounts of hashtags actually doesn't help you. So make sure that you're keeping it pretty concise to what actually matters. All right, so we are at the end of today's webinar. I do want to let you guys know, if you particularly want to take a longer journey with me, a deeper dive with me on this, and you want to take a full-blown course that we have, we are launching at MAPS. It's called 50 Facebook Sales in 50 Weeks, and it will launch in a week from today, actually. And if you want to join us, I'm going to give you the information on that in just a second. It is actually an 8-week-long program that is a deep dive into all of the things that we glazed over today. They are all recorded if you would like to. And we're going to talk about all of the details of all of the things that we brushed on today, the branding stuff. How do you actually sell, the process of going into building groups and pages and all of that stuff as well. And if particularly you want to re-listen to it at a certain point, they're all recorded. They are available 24 hours later. So if you have to miss a session, that's okay. And you have 2 months after the whole class is over to go back and rewatch them. If you have a team or a marketing person and you want your team or marketing person on this as well, you can do that too. So just to give you some details, we are starting this next week. It is at the exact same time this started. The full 8 weeks is $198. And if you want to sign up for it, you can either send me an email or you can go to the website right in front of you. I would love to have you guys join me if you want to. And if not, I hope that you enjoyed the last, 40 minutes, 38 minutes of us being on here together. And as he said, yes, David, the sessions will be recorded for that as well. And for this recording, it will be on our Fast Track YouTube channel in the next day or so. So if you guys have any questions for me, pop them in the chat box. And if not, I hope you guys all have such a wonderful day and everybody stays safe and warm and healthy and all of that good stuff. All right, you guys, I don't see any questions. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.